And I'm here to tell you that is the absolute worst way to do real estate. That is the most difficult way to do real estate long term and make some real money. I'm going to talk about 4 different types of real estate that can produce cash flow. Number 1 is personal, which is what most people think real estate is. So I'm going to burst the bubble, what most people think real estate investing is. I'm going to burst that bubble right now, which is personally guaranteed real estate. What does that mean, Brad? Well, personally guaranteed real estate is when you go to the bank, say you have a rental property or some type of piece of real estate, and you sign a loan that you personally guarantee against that real estate and hope that it produces you an income. Many people think about real estate from the lens of a real estate broker, which is to go find a retail house, something that Wells Fargo will lend against, have you put 20% down or more, hold it as a rental property. That's the method that most people think real estate is. Find a pretty house, put down 20%, hire a property management company, rent it out, and collect cash flow. And I'm here to tell you that is the absolute worst way to do real estate. That is the most difficult way to do real estate long term and make some real money. More people lose money in real estate investing that way than they do in any other way. And it's mainly because of that personal guarantee. What a personal guarantee means is if this loan goes bad, we're coming after your personal assets. We're coming after your house. We're coming after your car. We're coming after your savings. We're coming after precious metals that you've got. We're coming after anything and everything. We're going to clear your balance sheet. That's how people go broke. That's how people foreclose. The word foreclosure, that's a foreclosure. And why is that the case? Well, because number 1, you go against some of the investing principles that the best investors in the world do, which is called a margin of safety. In Warren Buffett's book, or not Warren, Benjamin Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, he's talking about businesses in stock. It's the same principle that you enter into an investment with a margin of safety that says, if things go bad, we've got a little bit of cushion here. Now, they're talking about it when it's related to stock, and they're talking about it when it's related to not just stock, but like the assets that the business have relative to the outstanding stock and the stock price. Like if you sold all the stock and all the assets, is there a margin of safety there? Well, we look at it really simple. We go and acquire real estate that is worth $200,000, let's just say a number, but we're all in it, 160, 170. So we're entering into every investment that we make with a margin of safety, with instant equity. But when you go the personal guaranteed route, you're basically paying retail. The margin of safety that you have is the down payment that you made, 20%. So then who's that safety for? It's not a safety for you, the investor. It's safety for the bank. They're saying we're more safe because you put a whole bunch of money down. We don't want to keep the bank safe. We want to keep ourselves safe. Now, I'm not saying that there's no time to do personally guaranteed notes, though my argument is there are easier ways to acquire real estate without having to do a personal guarantee. We'll get to that in just a second. If we were in 2012 again, and you were able to acquire houses, the chances that those houses were going to go up pretty evident. We just had a large financial crisis in the real estate world, large foreclosures, values of houses going down 30, 40, 50, 70% in some markets. The chances that those are going to go back up pretty freaking high. So I'm not saying you made a bad choice by doing a personal guaranteed loan. I'm just saying there are better alternatives to that way. The other thing, when you think about personally guaranteeing loans, doing traditional bank finance, the banks have limits. They're not just going to keep lending money to you over and over and over again. Instead, the best loan out there is a Fannie Freddie loan where you can acquire a house for 75%. Oh, by the way, investment loans are not 20%. That's for your personal house. Investment loans are typically 25%. Now, they change all the time, so whenever you're listening to this, it could be different, but that's historically how it works. But traditional banks require certain type of debt to income ratios. They ultimately don't like lending. They prefer lending to owner occupants. They don't like, which people who live in the house. They don't like lending. They do, but cautiously, to non-owner occupant investors. So they come up with a whole bunch of different rules and regulations about who they'll lend to. They'll limit you to a certain amount of loans. For instance, the Cadillac of loan is a Fannie Freddie loan. It's 75% loan to value. It doesn't require a lot of reserves. It's a 30-year fixed rate loan, but they'll only let you get 4 of them that way. And of course, lending change. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 3, but let's just say they can only get 4. Well, are you becoming wealthy just owning 4 rental properties? Maybe, if it's throwing off $1,000 worth of rent and you are only wanting to live on $4,000. But for the majority of people who are listening to this show, they're looking for larger cash flow than just 4 assets can produce. So then the type of loans that are, again, traditional loans are going to be now no longer in that Cadillac of loans. They're going to now be in the commercial lending space. In the commercial lending space, that's where you're talking about ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. That's where you're talking about balloons. That means you're going to have to pay this off in, 3, 5, 7 years. This is where you're now in from my perspective, a dangerous part of personal guaranteeing loans. So I've said a lot about this, but the reason I'm saying it is this is how most people think. They think that the only way to go do real estate investing is to go get a good credit score, have a good debt to income ratio, go down to Wells Fargo, put their 25% down, and buy this rental property. I'm here to tell you, of the 500 something deals that I've done, I've never done that. I've never done it that way. It's way more difficult. There's way easier ways to do it. And one of the easy ways is the next type of real estate is called non-personally guaranteed loans. Non-personal guaranteed real estate is an excellent way to do real estate. What is a non-personal guaranteed? Anything that you yourself are not on the hook to pay. If the loan is not in your name, you are not personally guaranteeing that loan. So what are some ways that you can do that? One way is a very popular method right now. We do teach it. There are so many nuances. It can be a little bit dangerous. It's called subject to financing. This is where you acquire the property subject to the existing financing. This is someone who already got the loan with Wells Fargo. They can't afford the house anymore. They're going to lose it to foreclosure typically. They don't want to be a landlord. They want out, and you go in and say, hey, I'm going to buy this house from you subject to the existing financing. Now, there's a difference between finance and ownership. You can own a property and sell that property, but the finance still stays against that property. Now, there is a clause in the promissory note in almost everyone. It's called a due on sale clause. That due on sale says, if you sell the property, you got to pay off this note. Well, what we have found is sometimes the banks call those notes due, most of the time that they don't. Now, that's a risk, but the person taking the risk is you, but it's mainly the person who got the loan in their name. We go into much more details in our training about that. Another way to do non-personally guaranteed real estate is what's called a sandwich lease option. This is where you lease the property from a owner and sublease it to a tenant. You get an option to purchase it at one price, and then you sell an option for more. Give you an example. I'm going to lease this property from one person for $1,000, from an owner for $1,000. I'm going to sublease it for $500. I just made $500. I'm going to have an option to buy it for $200,000. I'm going to sell this for $225. I just made $25,000 if that tenant buyer winds up buying that property. That's another example of non-personally guaranteed real estate. Another one is private finance. Private finance. This is where you convince the seller to just finance the property to you. Oh, that's owner finance. Owner finance is when you say, hey, seller, would you just finance me? Can I turn you into the bank? Another way is private finance. You go talk to other people who have capital, who want to put their money into real estate. They become the bank. And you just mention, make sure on those notes and on the loan docs that you go say, this is not personally guaranteed. If this property fails, if I'm unable to pay this note anymore, instead of them coming after you personally and taking your RV and your car and your house and all these things, they just get the house. They just get the house in exchange for a failed real estate loan. Okay. Happens all the time. Now you're sitting there saying, well, who would want to do that? A lot of people, particularly people with 401ks and IRAs that they roll over into self-directed 401ks and IRAs. So I wrote the book, Roll Over to Retire. You can get a copy of that. It teaches people how to roll their retirement plans into self-directed so that they can buy out of their self-directed IRA or lend out of it. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss the next episode. Every week, we drop practical money strategies and real stories that'll change the way you think about wealth.